Right, black gold, where, what, and how. Now, if you look at the introduction to the session, basically it is about the pros and cons, the merits, the drawbacks, the liabilities, the issues, the goods, the bads, and the uglies. Sadly and tragically for those of us in local government, who is here from a local council? Put your hands up, be upstanding. Well, why don't you all stand up, quickly, yes. Wonderful people that you are, there we are. Keep standing. Keep standing if you're seeking re-election. Well, I am. Hands up those of you who'd like to take up temporary residence in the Waitaki district and vote for a mayoral candidate. Anyway, no. The one thing that we're not talking about, alas, is royalties for regions, which would be a wonderful thing to have. But the rest of it, of course, is on the table. That may come up and be presented as part of the discussion anyway. 4 speakers, 20 minutes, warning bell at 15, which will be thus. Another one at 19, and a louder one at 20 minutes. This is the order. Our first speaker is a man with 25 years' experience worldwide in the energy industry. He has served and was for some time Managing Director of the UK's Offshore Petroleum Industry Training Organisation, or OPETO, also worked for BP Alternative Energy. He joined the Ministry of Economic Development, now MOBI, in 2011. He's currently General Manager of New Zealand Petroleum and Minerals. Devices at full volume for David Binnie.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of this plenary. I'm really pleased to be here. Oil and gas is a significant part of the New Zealand economy. Oil's a major export earner, and gas helps fuel our domestic economy. On top of this, the sector has seen sustained growth for a decade. Employment in the sector has doubled, and exports have tripled. In 2012, oil earned more than $2 billion for the New Zealand economy, our 4th largest commodity export, and natural gas provided 21% of the total energy used in the New Zealand economy to users almost entirely in the North Island. This information is not new, but it is important. It's important for New Zealand's economic development, and it's important for our environment. I would like to share a true story with you. Last month, at the annual conference of the New Zealand branch of the Australasian Institute of Mining and Metallurgy, Al Morrison, the then Director General of the Department of Conservation, it's Freudian slip, told a story. Al's story illustrated some of the decisions and compromises which are required for us to make progress. In May of this year, the Minister of Conservation, the Honourable Nick Smith, approved an access arrangement for Bathurst Resources Limited to mine coal over 106 hectares on the Denniston Plateau on the west coast of the South Island. Bathurst and DOC negotiated a $21.9 million compensation package for the consequent environmental impacts of mining. The Bathurst package includes a 35-year predator and pest control programme to protect plants and wildlife within about 25,000 hectares of the Heaphy River catchment National Park, and a 50-year predator and pest control programme over about 4.5 hectares of the Denniston Plateau and the surrounding beech forest. Now, I appreciate that this is a mining anecdote. However, the sentiment is the same. As a country, we have to balance economic development and the growth of our economy with the environment. It's not an either-or. We need to continue to find common ground between two seemingly irreconcilable positions. And we will only find this through dialogue, applying good science, and ensuring appropriate and timely decision-making. For our part in New Zealand Petroleum Minerals, one of the things we've done to lift our game is to build greater capability across the government system. And the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, along with other regulatory agencies, have taken a number of steps to strengthen the wider regime for oil and gas and minerals development. One of those steps has been a range of changes to the Crown Minerals Act, under which my organisation, New Zealand Petroleum Minerals, operates. The key changes to the CMA has seen us strengthening the health, safety and environmental assurances at every stage of resource development, including an upfront assessment of the health, safety and environmental track record of any operator applying for a permit in this country. We have also introduced a two-tier permitting regime that is administered by NZPNM. The two-tiered approach provides a more efficient, more effective and more streamlined process for less complex, lower risk Tier 2 permits, such as quarries and alluvial mining operations, enabling NZPNM to focus on more complex, higher return, higher risk Tier 1 permits, including all of the oil and gas permits in the country. NZPNM also reviewed the proposed management and governance structure for every Tier 1 permit application and assessed the applicant's understanding of the resource and how best to maximise the economic development opportunity. To be clear, there are no changes to the way in which local authorities manage their obligations under the RMA as part of this. NZPNM is focused on the operator and their credentials, not the on-ground operation. We do not duplicate the work of local authorities. Changes to the CMA have also seen the government improve the coordination between regulatory agencies and strengthen the engagement requirements with iwi and other important stakeholders, including local authorities. There's also been a range of improvements across the system outside the CMA and the remit of NZPNM, which affect the wider regulatory framework for oil and gas exploration and development. The exclusive economic zone and the continental shelf EEZ legislation allows effective and transparent management of the regulation of New Zealand's environment and natural resources within our EEZ. The standalone EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, in its role in relation to the EEZ, oversees environmental protection, including environmental impact assessments. Maritime New Zealand has strengthened the management around oil spill preparedness with the development of a national oil spill strategy and oil spill contingency plans. There's also been the establishment of the High Hazards Unit to strengthen implementation of health and safety regs, and new guidelines for marine seismic survey operations were developed by the Department of Conservation in consultation with a broad range of international and domestic stakeholders. The New Zealand regulatory system has been overhauled, and the improved CMA Act regime balances the economic benefits of increased oil and gas and minerals exploration and production with health and safety and environmental concerns. Our regulation, in my view, our regulatory system is robust, and the questions we ask of operators are the right ones. We now need to implement that well. Oil and gas exploration and development is not a low-cost game. It's a capital-intensive industry with significant commercial risk. It requires scale, expertise, and deep pockets to get it right. One international company is currently completing their application under the new regulatory regime, and to date they have spent more than $10 million complying with New Zealand's rules. To put this in context, this is approximately the same cost as drilling one onshore well. Clearly, this company sees value in the ultimate potential of that project and is prepared to pay the price of compliance. This gives me confidence that we are achieving some sense of balance. Since 2012, in the annual permitting round, has been used exclusively for allocating oil and gas exploration permits. The competitive tender process allows us to ensure that exploration permits are granted to the best operators capable of delivering safe and environmentally responsible exploration programs. It has also generated significant international interest in exploring New Zealand. So let me ad-lib for a little bit. This is what we call the block offer map for New Zealand. And And this is the acreage that has been offered up for companies to bid. So the process is the companies will come forward with a bid plan for acreage in these areas, and I'll describe them in a little bit more detail, and we will assess that, and they will then go through that process. The areas here, the yellow areas, represent this 2014 current block offer that's under consultation. So the process starts with consultation. That runs for about 6 months. So that acreage you see in yellow may not be the acreage we offer to companies, but we have a consultation process with both iwi and local authorities to get to the point where we craft that area and then offer it to market. The blue areas represents the block offer 2013, which is just closed. So bids are on my desk now for 2013. And the grey area represents acreage currently under permit or application. So that looks like a big area, but actually what occurs is if you were to plot on there the actual production and exploration drilling acreage, it's a pinprick compared to that acreage. So we offer, because it's frontier acreage by and large, we offer larger areas for companies to take risk on, financial risk on, but that gets honed down and channeled by the time you get to production. So the actual area is infinitesimally smaller than that, but that's where it's currently standing. 9 days ago, the Minister of Energy Resources, the Honourable Simon Bridges, announced the start of the Block Offer 2014 process. Block Offer 2014 includes 5 offshore areas and 3 onshore areas covering a range of mature and frontier acreage. In total, the proposed acreage is just over 430,000 square kilometres, more than double that of 2013. Block Offer has put New Zealand on the map as a serious investment destination. It's worthwhile noting that no Schedule 4 land, no World Heritage areas, and no marine reserves will be available for permitting. Try this again. New Zealand is a country that places a high value on our environment, and developing our oil and gas resources must be balanced with our environmental credentials, our values, and our culture. New Zealanders can have it both ways. We can support greater extraction of oil and gas resources and protect and even improve our environment. There will always be a level of tension between economic development and environmental protection. For me, it's a matter of checks and balances. New Zealanders want assurance from operators that they won't be reckless and cavalier with our environment. Operators want assurance that as long as they operate within the law, they are free to conduct their lawful business. It's worth noting that around 70% of New Zealanders have told us that they are comfortable with expanding development of New Zealand's natural resources as long as it's done sensibly and responsibly, with the good of the environment clearly in the minds of all parties. Between 2002 and 2012, the government was paid a total of $1.9 billion in levies and royalties, $380 million in 2012 alone. And the number of oil and gas extraction companies grew from 13 in 2002 through to 50 in 2012. In 2011, 52 wells were drilled, the highest rate of activity in the past 10 years, and an increase from the 45 wells drilled in 2010, 37 wells drilled in 2009. Add to this, and in just the past 6 years, a total of $8.2 billion has been invested in petroleum and exploration in this country. And all of this from just one region, Taranaki. Clearly, oil and gas is one of the most productive and important parts of our current economy. And we are committed to long-term, environmentally responsible and safe management of our oil and gas resources. There are examples of across the world of how countries have managed the tension between economic development and environmental protection. Norway is one such example of how oil and gas production and development can coexist with a beautiful environment, people with a strong association with the land and the sea, stringent standards, and strong economic benefits. In Norway, Government income from oil and gas development goes into a long-term pension fund, now worth more than $700 billion. The fund amounts to 160% of their GDP and holds 1% of the world's listed stock market. Wealthy countries have the privilege of choice. With wealth, choices can be made to not just protect, but to improve our environment. Poorer nations, I fear, do not have this luxury. This part of the government's strategy for energy is clear, that New Zealand takes advantage of the economic opportunity provided by continuing global demand for fossil fuels. New Zealand Petroleum and Minerals, in support of the government's business growth agenda, takes a long-term view for the whole of New Zealand. Consultation and engagement is a big part of this long-term view and something that New Zealand Petroleum and Minerals takes very seriously. And as someone who comes from another land with lesser commitment to this, let me assure you, I find this very heartening and something I am pleased and proud to be part of. I personally spend 25% or more of my time engaging with communities. It's the best part of my job in New Zealand. In providing information and engaging more widely, it has been our goal to improve the public understanding of the economic and social benefits of oil and gas, and in doing so, better informing the public debate about how resource development should progress in this country. We do this for all New Zealanders who expect us and me to ensure the responsible development of our natural resources to the very best environmental and health and safety standards. We recognise that the impacts of this industry and the projects of today will last for generations. We want success for those coming generations as well as for now. The ongoing effects of the industry, the regulators, and the local authorities, of industry, regulators and local authorities gives me confidence that we will be able to continually responsible development of this sector beyond Taranaki for the benefit of all New Zealanders, now and for the foreseeable future, as long as that lasts. Expanding our oil and gas exploration and development could help our economy be significantly better off than it is today. The challenge for New Zealanders will be how we choose to reinvest that wealth wisely for future generations. Like I said at the beginning, the growing success of this sector, this momentum, is important for New Zealand's economic development, and it's important for an environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.